Welcome back to Beyond the Podium. I'm Bob Roll. Stage number 18, the individual time trial in this case, in this year's Vuelta a España, in the books, dominated by Filippo Ganna, 56.2 kilometers per hour average speed, a new absolute record by a long shot in the average speed for a stage of the Grand Tour in a time trial. Congratulations, Filippo Ganna, but a lot of drama in the overall standings. Coming into the time trial, I think that Ganna, your assessment was that he had been saving himself throughout the Vuelta for a stage win. Ineos already 2 stage wins from the breakaways. Not really a GC team at the moment, at least in the Grand Tours, by any stretch, Christian, but the team starting to deliver the big stage wins. We had one from Ben Turner, and then Egan Bernal, spectacular stage win on the comeback trail, and then Ganna, the fastest man in the time trial. Not a big surprise, but the average speed pretty shocking.
It really was. But I mean, last night we knew that they're going to change the course, which was probably the biggest shock. I mean, not a surprise because of really the safety concerns with the protesters, bringing it from 27K down to 12K. But when we heard that, Bob, there's only one guy we're thinking about, and that was Filippo Ganna. I mean, he had a good chance at 27K, but he had a much better chance at 12K. And really what he did, though, more importantly than that last 4K, I still can't get over. 39 miles an hour average speed for the last 2.5 miles. I don't know how that's possible. I mean, there was a lot, and we have to really talk about this a little bit. There was only 1 minute differentials between the first riders. And so many of these riders we're talking about caught their Minutemen and also had the luxury of getting some nice drafts from some of those cars behind him and the motorcycles. Jay Vine was straight up motor racing for a while. No shade on him. It's not his fault. It just this is how it was out there. But where Ganna caught the guys in front of him was perfect timing. But we talked about it, and I said it reminded you about what he does in the team pursuit, for example, in the last 750 meters of the Olympic Games. He's special when it comes to that. Most people, nobody could usually up the ante after you already been going flat out for 10 minutes, pretty much a ramp test. So yeah, it was really cool to see. It was great to see all the riders step up to the game. And Matthew Riccatello, for me, I mean, that was the most incredible ride for a 121-pound rider. I mean, 65 pounds less than Filippo Ganna. For him to take time out of some GC riders, Almeida, 3rd place today. Wow. I mean, there were some exceptional performances. And even, you can't even put any shade on Jonas. I mean, Jonas averaged 55K an hour today. I mean, he said in his own words, what do you want? I mean, what do you want from me? This is the fastest I've ever ridden my bicycle in my life. I've never thought of riding an average speed of 55K an hour. So there's a little bit of coulda, woulda, shoulda, as the dust settles, what could have been if it was 27K, considering how fast Joao rode today. Could have been 20 seconds, could have been 25 seconds, taking time back, having that 50-second differential in between those 2 riders going to Bola del Mundo, and then we got a big race in our hands. So nonetheless, 40 seconds, it's better than it was yesterday. Only big change in the general classification, I believe, is Matthew, correct? Moving up into 6th place.
Moving up the spot, ahead of Felix Gall. Good news for Filippo Ganna for the stage win. This is the GC. Hindley holds his own. Pellizzari loses some time to Riccatello, who did a spectacular time trial. Sepp Kuss and Matteo Jorgensen stay in the top 10, and Torsten Tryant continuing to ride well. He is 9th in the overall standings. Great news for Ganna. Maybe even better news for us. Another teammate on the Ineos squad will be getting their head shaved. It was a bet at the start of the Vuelta. I think Brandon Rivera, it was his idea. So after Egan won the 2nd stage of the team, he had his head shaved by Filippo Ganna. Michael Kwiatkowski already, because of Ben Turner, had his shave. So now, at least until today, the rider that was next in line, they hypothetically drew straws again ahead of today's time trial stage. So Bob Jungels was maybe the most likely rider as of yesterday. That might have changed overnight, but time will tell. I'm sure we'll get it on the socials before tomorrow's stage. But another Ineos rider going under the clippers of Filippo Ganna, who won the time trial stage and has done the honors so far in the Ineos team boss. Pretty glad we didn't do that back in the day. It would have been embarrassing.
He hasn't gotten back to me yet. but he did say that there was going to be a draw last night to reassess who was next in the chopping block. And I started messing with him. So yeah, when I was speaking with Bob Youngles, that is, thinking, especially after they changed the course, that's when I started chirping at him like, "Oh, you're a dead man now. You're going down." I didn't think it was ever going to be this close with Jay Vine. 1 second.
That was incredible.
And I made the mistake of saying, and this is the only time I could remember with the polka dot jersey going that fast in a time trial at the third week, and how wrong I was, and corrected, as you brought up, Tade, and I think Jonas as well has done that as well. So, there's been some exceptional rides deep into the Tour de France, the Vuelta, and Giro d'Italia. But nonetheless, 1 second behind Filippo Ganna at those kind of speeds.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it still brings me back to almost the laughable when you think of what they've been using for tactics when it comes to UAE, with how aggressive. I mean, of course, they've had a lot of success. I mean, tying the maximum wins of all, or at least in modern cycling, for the Vuelta. But I mean, yesterday, though, Almeida had nobody around him because everyone is spent from trying to go for their own victory so many different times.
And Ayuso also looked like he went pretty hard for the TT.
Yeah.
They have a day to recover and maybe rally finally around Joao Almeida on the Bola del Mundo, when now he's only 40 seconds behind Jonas Vingegaard. Jonas, he is redoubtable in the climbs, long climbs especially. This is the second most difficult on paper anyways. I thought yesterday's climb to the finish line was nearly as hard as the Angliru. That was just relentless gradients, but Saturday's final climb even harder than yesterday's. So still a chance for Joao Almeida. Maybe some help from his teammates. There's, like you say all the time, not that much you can do physically. There's a slight advantage sitting on the wheels on those steep gradients, tiny advantage, but maybe it's more psychological. You've got your teammate with you. If anything should go wrong, you're not totally isolated. That's not a luxury that Joao's had throughout this Vuelta that Jonas has had.
No, that's a great point, Bob. And I'm glad you remind me of what my own words are, because it is true. And especially tomorrow, going to the finish, and those last 4 kilometers, there's nothing you could do. No amount of help is going to make any difference whatsoever. At those kind of speeds, you're barely moving on Saturday. So it's up to 20%, just like we saw with the Angliru. So, but what the difference is, many times, if you need to up the tempo, you need those teammates to be able to drive the tempo before you make that attack. So that'd be the biggest difference. If he is to do something before those steep gradients, and he needs those guys at his disposal, exactly what happened with Großschartner when he set a beautiful tempo for him on the Angliru. So that's the only thing I could really think of. And like you mentioned, psychological advantage for sure. Having those guys next to you makes you feel that much more empowered. That's a big day. 14,000 feet of climbing, a bunch of different obstacles to get up and over before you hit Bola del Mundo. And Bob, I did that climb 15 years ago, and it's one of those where you start to question, am I going to make it, kind of thing. Like, I need to keep on making forward progress. It's a horrible road. It's horrible. It's not even tarmac. It's concrete at the top, and then it has the stripes going through it, so you could actually get traction. Yeah, exactly. When you see that kind of stuff, you're in big trouble. No, it's not really a road. It's like an access road up into the antennas up on top of the mountain. So again, you brought up a great point. There's really not much you could do. It's just going to be completely physical, completely mental. How much you have left in your legs. The biggest difference is there's no holding back on this one. There's no stages after this. There's no time to make any difference up. So I think we're in for a great fight. Riccatello has been riding really good. Almeida continues to ride well. Pidcock has been riding very well. I mean, taking time out of Jai Hindley today in the time trial, which, it wasn't a huge surprise, I guess, but still he did it, and he did it deep into the third week. And yesterday was fantastic on that steep climb. So, there's quite a few revelations, which we usually see in the Vuelta. Tom Pidcock might be one of the biggest ones coming out of this Vuelta.
Well, for Joao Almeida, could you imagine him being a lot closer if he had the support, maybe especially of Juan Ayuso throughout the Vuelta? They were both slated to go for GC. We saw already on stage number 2 that was not going to happen for Juan Ayuso. Then it was revealed he's changing teams, in fact, at the end of the year. It's like, what the heck is going on? And the UAE team, and then Jay Vine going for his ambitions, Marc Soler going for his. So, how does Joao Almeida keep his morale going when he's watching all of these transpire? Unless perhaps, Christian, they thought Jonas was going to win no matter what. Might as well try to go for both things, give these high paid superstar athletes a chance for their own glory. Time will tell on Saturday, but I think Joao could be a little bit closer if his team was 100%, as Visma has been, dedicated to the chances of Jonas if Joao enjoyed that same advantage with the UAE squad.
Yeah, no, you bring up, I mean, all those points are succinct, and I agree with you. I mean, I think you have to give him a little bit of leeway that coming into this race, you and I both thought that Jonas would have been minutes ahead of him at this point in time in the general classification, that Joao really didn't have much of a chance of winning this. It turns out he obviously did, and he wasn't really given that much support, and that was obvious from day one. Biggest difference was after Angliru, after his teammates saw that, and maybe even Almeida himself. Maybe he even didn't even have the confidence in himself. It didn't even have this sound like he had the confidence in himself yesterday in the post-race interview at the top of the mountain of what the difference was going to be made in the time trial here today. So I think with every passing stage, he continues to get a little bit more confidence. So it's a good time for him to have an exceptional day on the time trial bike today, to have that really forward thinking to Bowl the Moon, that he can make something special happen. Is it an outside chance? Yes. I mean, I mean, what are you going to, it's so hard to drop Jonas. I mean,
exactly.
We haven't seen it happen. He's been on the wheel every time. I mean, he's suffered. Yes, of course. He wasn't great yesterday, but he's not getting dropped, is he? So 40 seconds doesn't sound like much, but it's still, it's a mile when it comes to Grand Tour racing at its finest, deep into where no one really has the reserves to make the difference. But that's why we race. And if you have a bad day, you have a bad day, and you could definitely lose that in 2 or 3 kilometers towards the top of Bowl de Mundo.
Well, looking at tomorrow's stage, it does kick up pretty dramatically before the finish line. It is on paper a day for the sprinters, but maybe a sprinter with some versatility in the climbs, a lot like Mads Pedersen, has maybe a better chance than Jasper Philipsen, who's clearly the fastest rider in this year's Vuelta, Christian, for tomorrow.
Yeah, let's not forget Jasper. He could definitely win some stages going uphill. There's like the first stage he ever won at the Vuelta was like that in some horrific conditions in the rain. So it's a lumpy day, 5,000 feet of climbing, but for the Vuelta, it's about as flat as you're going to get apart from today's time trial. But like you mentioned, it does course its way uphill just a little bit towards the finish line. That's going to sting the legs. Mads Pedersen went all in today, which was a bit of a surprise. Outside surprise to think of how badly he suffered yesterday, which was the worst he suffered by a long shot this entire Vuelta. So he's got some fight in him for sure. But I think if he was thinking about tomorrow's stage, I don't think he would have gone as deep today. So I don't know. I mean, maybe just he knows he's got the green jersey in the bag for the most part, Bob, at this point in time. So if he had an exceptional day, he could be up there in the top 5. But I think it's Jasper's race to lose tomorrow. I think he's going for the hat trick, and I think he actually get 4 on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, on Sunday also. Well, time will tell. 8:50 a.m. We'll start tomorrow's stage on the East Coast, a little bit earlier, 5:50 in California, 6:50 a.m. in Durango, Colorado. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks a million, Christian, as always, on Beyond the Podium. See everybody tomorrow, stage number 19 of La Vuelta.
For all your cycling content year-round, subscribe to NBC Sports YouTube page. We got it all.